Hello, faithful, and welcome to the 49ers Plus podcast. I'm Al Moriello, and if you are looking for objective, intelligent, and level-headed 49ers discussion, you have come to the right place. Today, we're going to be discussing John Lynch's comments at Stanford's Pro Day regarding the 49ers spending money, the draft, state of the team, Brock extension hopefully happening in the next couple weeks. We're going to look at what Brock's extension could be and how Josh Allen's recent extension for the Bills could play into what Brock is going to get. There is still ongoing Brandon Aiyuk trade speculation. We're going to get into that. Shake up in the running back room with Jordan Mason getting traded and Kyle Juszczyk getting cut and then re-signed. I have some thoughts there. And then we're going to conclude with the 49ers odds to win the NFC West and to win the NFC and Super Bowl. They may surprise you. So let's get right into it. John Lynch in attendance this week. I'm recording this on Thursday night. I believe he was at the Stanford Pro Day either earlier on Thursday or on Wednesday, and had this to say regarding what the Niners have done regarding the roster purge or the rebuild that a lot of slow people and midbrains are talking about, whether it's on Twitter or in the media, national media, etc. Quote from John Lynch. And I love this first half of this first sentence because I think it's dripping with sarcasm. Quote, "We've got this thing called the draft, and we've got a lot of picks." Love it. And I think the thing that fans should know is we have a plan, and we're going to execute on that plan. So that's one quote. And let's just break this down a little bit. As many, if not all of you know, the Niners have 11 picks going into the draft in April. You may have seen on social media either just random fans or respected, in air quotes, media members doing mock drafts where people are trading down a bunch. The Niners are making 13, 14 or more picks this draft, which to me is just laughable because I don't even think 11 rookies, if they keep all their draft picks and make them, are going to make this team. Look at last year. I mean, all but one made the team, but it was Jarrett Kingston who got released on the O-line, which you could have argued that was probably a place they could have used another body or a young body to groom with, at the very least, Spencer Burford and Nick Zakiel being on the last year of their rookie deals in 2025. But I think they have a better chance of trading up at some point in the draft to go after someone they want. And they end up, the 49ers do, making 8 or 9 selections versus trading down. Now, the first pick they have in the first round is 11 overall. Who knows how the board falls, if any of the players that they covet, and we don't know who they are not there at 11. Yes, there's the possibility they can trade down from 11 to later in the teens and take somebody that will say they feel more comfortable taking at that spot and picking up an extra pick or two. But I would want that extra pick in 2026, right? Because at some point, you may be making draft picks or have too many picks and not enough spots on your roster for X number of rookies. Now, they could always, trade down in the first, get another third down pick, get another third round pick in 2025, trade up, trade a couple of their sevenths and one of their fifths into the fourth round. So they can still move around and have the math work out in my mind where they make 8 or 9 picks overall. But this idea that the Niners are going to be making a dozen or more selections in this draft, I think is a little off base or illogical. And even though we're just talking about, Lynch saying we've got this thing called the draft. And again, I just love it. I didn't hear the audio, so I'm sure it didn't sound as sarcastic as I'd like to believe that it sounded. But I think a lot of people, and myself included to a certain degree when I say this, feels like this is an important draft for the 49ers, right? Folks out there are dramatic, being overly dramatic, saying, oh, well, they didn't do enough in free agency to fortify the D-line or bring in another O-lineman or the secondary or pick your position. So they have to hit on every single pick. No, they don't. They don't, and they won't. Generally, under John and Kyle, they've been a middle of the road drafting team in terms of hitting on their picks. Starting in 2017, when they whiffed on Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster in the first round, Joe Williams in the fourth, the running back from Utah, never played it down with the Niners or even, I guess, in the NFL. Ahkello Witherspoon was a bit of a bust until the Rams the past couple of years. CJ Beathard at backup quarterback. Now, they did hit on George Kittle, on DJ Jones, but for the most part, not a great draft. And they've had some others where maybe their hit rate is, between the 40 and 55% range from what I was looking at before hopping on the computer. Now, last year they hit on all but one so far. 1 year, promising. But this idea that the draft, they have to hit on every pick. Let's say they make 11 picks, or I'll be super conservative and say they make 10 picks. I think if they hit on 5 or 6 to be immediate contributors in some way, shape, or form in 2025, this upcoming season, it's a win. And it's a good short-term ROI for their draft picks, because realistically, and that's the problem with a lot of us fans and certainly social media, and certainly when you get a discourse going, when a lot of when a lot of things are done for engagement farming, people aren't putting their smartest foot forward. It's just about posts and reposts and engagement. And of course, national media not being nearly as close to the roster as we fans are. A lot of illogical and sometimes stupid things are being said. But when I look at the roster, realistically, where a rookie could start, could be left guard. I still like Ben Barch. They re-signed him for a year. They still have Spencer Burford that can play there. They still have Nick Sakiel who could potentially play there. And if they draft a tackle, it is going to be a backup to either Trent Williams or Colton McKivitz. But that tackle could start out at left guard until Trent Williams retires, and there's no guarantee he plays after 2025, or Colton McKivitz leaves in free agency and 2025 is his last year. Left guard, a rookie has a chance to start. I don't care how much people hate Jake Brendel or don't like Colton McKivitz. A rookie is not coming in to start at those positions. Defensive tackle. I think this feels pretty logical, pretty obvious. You're not going to have 2 defensive tackles start on this team as rookies. You're not. They right now have 4 D tackles on the roster. So it is Jordan Elliott, Evan Anderson, Kalia Davis, and Kevin Givens. They're going to draft 2 D tackles. They'll probably have another 2, maybe 3 D tackles as undrafted rookie free agents. They will probably bring in a D tackle later on in free agency, whether it's April, May, June, or even after final cuts in September. But going into training camp, their 90-man roster, they're probably going to have 8, 9, or 10 tackles on the team. So I'm not worried from a body standpoint. Now, they need to make the right selections, but even if they get a rookie to start next to Jordan Elliott or Evan Anderson, I'm not sure if Kevin Givens is starter material, and then you have another rookie D tackle that's playing rotational minutes, I think that's, I don't want to say a good starting point, but a good mix. But I don't think it's going to be 2 D tackles. And linebacker 2, someone next to Fred Warner. Now, no guarantee that a rookie could start there. And the Niners did not go the rookie route last year when they tried to get that linebacker from the Chargers, who said yes to the Niners, but ultimately signed with the Cowboys. I'm blanking on his name. I apologize. And then ultimately went with Devondre Campbell, 2 veterans who were 30 plus. I'm not saying that they're going to sign a 30-plus-year-old linebacker in the next couple of months, but on the roster right now, D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Curtis Robinson, Tatum Bethune, and the linebacker they brought over from the Titans, who is mainly a special teams player, but does have starting experience. They will draft a linebacker, but no guarantee, No matter how high that linebacker's drafted, they're not taking a linebacker in the first. They're not taking a linebacker in the second. Maybe in the third, one of their 2 third-round picks is the earliest the Niners take a linebacker. In my opinion, the first 3 picks should be some mix of D tackle, D end, and offensive lineman. A tackle that can maybe play guard the first year. And the 4th position, maybe defensive end. Maybe, depending on the quality of the D end, where the D end is drafted, because right now it's Bosa, it's Yetur Gross-Matos, it's Sam Okiwanu, it's Drake Jackson that's recovering from the quad tear or the patellar knee tendon. No guarantee he's ever, going to be back or make a return. Alex Barrett, and then someone that they picked up that they gave a reserve contract to from the Rams. But again, we're still only through the second full week of free agency, right? So there's still April and May and mid to lower tier, more affordable DNs that I believe the Niners are going to sign. Now, I think they'll draft 1. They could draft 2, but 1 I think is safe. They'll probably bring in 1 or 2 as an undrafted rookie free agent and probably 1 or 2 veterans down the road to fill out the roster. If they have 9 or 10 D tackles on the 90-man roster, they may have 7 or 8 DNs. But those are the only places a rookie's going to start. I don't think a rookie's going to start at nickel cornerback. I don't think a rookie's going to start next to Malik Mustafa at safety. They brought in Jason Pinnock and Grant from the Falcons, who's more special teams, but I see that position going to a veteran to play alongside a second-year player than a rookie. Nowhere else on the offensive line. Certainly not quarterback. Certainly not tight end. Certainly not running back. Certainly not receiver. Brandon Aiyuk's not going anywhere. We're going to get to that momentarily. Maybe a kicker if they draft a kicker in the 7th, or an undrafted rookie free agent, or punter could potentially start. And I'm not minimizing special teams because we know what a disaster it's been the past couple of years. But the core sexier positions on offense and defense, those 22 positions overall, 3 spots, left guard, D tackle, and linebacker 2, and maybe defensive end. Realistically, a rookie can come in and start. The rest are depth pieces, which they drastically need. Good, young, cheap, talented depth. Now, the next quote from Lynch. Now, this gets into money and Brock and all that good stuff. Quote, "The bottom line is you're always looking years out from now. And we forecast it, and we've got some big things coming our way, Brock Purdy's extension, and you have to clear the requisite room to be able to do that. You want to have flexibility." So now the big thing coming their way is obviously Brock. And we're going to talk about the contract and what's going on in the market momentarily. But what else could be coming down the pike? An extension for George Kittle, who is turned 32 relatively recently, but should be a player that is a 49er for his career, or at least for 10 years. They should extend him. 2025 is the last year under contract. They should get something done, lowers his cap hit for this year, but there would be a check that Jed York would have to write that's going to guarantee him X million dollars or millions of dollars at signing. Fred Warner should be extended as well. He's under contract through 2026. Once you do that extension, yes, again, it lowers the cap hit, but Jed York's got to open up the money bin and write that check for X millions of dollars for Fred Warner. The only other one, maybe Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings is under contract only through this upcoming season, which makes the Demarcus Robinson signing at wide receiver a little bit more valuable since they gave him a 2-year deal to cover themselves if they can't work out something with Jennings more long-term. So even there, some forward thinking to keep themselves covered at receiver, whether it's receiver 2, 3 in 2026. I've said this before, though, there's only so much I'm crying for the York family when they are billionaires with a B, right? They have the money, however much they have in escrow or liquid. I mean, there is obviously a difference between someone's net worth and what they actually have accessible in the bank, right? We know that the Niners have been estimated to be worth $9 billion. That doesn't mean he can write a check for $1 billion tomorrow. Liquid, he'd have to probably take a loan out somewhere for that. And with how much the Niners have spent, per John Lynch, and even just doing the research, the last, 3 or 4 years, that they're in the top 3 or 4 for cash spending out of pocket every year. At some point, owners are going to want to slow that down. Even if the Niners won the Super Bowl 2 years ago and beat the Chiefs, I still firmly believe there was going to be a financial recalibration or resetting of the structure of the roster. And John Lynch intimated that when he said it was nothing against Leonard Floyd or Malik Collins, anything that they did, they were great. But making this move to younger and cheaper, they were on the chopping block. I mean, think about it. Jordan Elliott remained at D tackle versus Malik Collins, younger and cheaper. Yetur Gross-Matos remained at D end instead of Leonard Floyd, younger or cheaper. Now we can have the conversation of those pairings, who's the better player, but the philosophy, they've been true to the vision that they've set forth for this offseason. Shed some money, get a little bit younger, and get cheaper where they can. And if they make 8, 9, 10 draft picks, then you're going to have at least 16 players on their roster that are either rookies or second-year players. 16 out of 53 is essentially 25% of the roster. More than that. But where I'm not really going too nuts or too worried about them shedding more money is right now the Niners have the 7th most cap space in the league at $45 million under the cap. They're going to get another $5.5 million in June 2nd when they realize savings from Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins being designated post-June 1st cap cuts. On top of that, there was a lot of money that was saved with some of the releases that we're going to get into, which is why, as they've been moving stuff around, it shouldn't be that much of an issue shouldn't be an issue at all to extend Brock Purdy. It's just a matter of what it's going to come at. Are they going to try to, how team friendly are they going to make it? Are they going to have any outs like the Giants did with Daniel Jones, like the Seahawks do with Sam Darnold? Apparently, the first year of his contract is $33 or $34 million guaranteed. Then the rest is base salary. If he doesn't work out after a year, they can cut him with minimal financial repercussions. So good job to Seattle in terms of structuring that. But then you have, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on one end of the spectrum, having, good years for respective teams before signing a multi-year contract in the $30 million a year range. 30 plus. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Josh Allen, who got an extension from the Bills, 6 years, $330 million. The big number here is $250 million guaranteed, but it works out to be a $55 million a year average, which is great for the media, great for TV, great for talking heads, but it's not like the player gets paid $55 million on the button in their bank accounts every year for the next 6 years. Signing bonuses, workout bonuses, etc. make that number completely different, what they actually take home each year, than what you're going to see on the screen. Now, the big number we mentioned, $250 million, just to give you an idea in terms of guaranteed money for quarterbacks. Josh Allen is leading the way. Then you have Dak Prescott at 231, Joe Burrow at 219, Trevor Lawrence at 200 even, Justin Herbert 194, Lamar Jackson 185, Jalen Hurts 179, Jared Goff 170, Tua 167, and Jordan Love and Kyler Murray both at 160. So that's 11 players. Brock should be somewhere in here, right? In the amount of guaranteed money. He's not going to get over 250. He's probably not going to get what Dak got at 230. maybe he's somewhere between 200 for Lawrence and 160 for Love and Murray. And I'm not trying to lowball Brock, but there is this notion online from actual well-respected 49er beat reporters that they feel like they need to start winning some deals now. And there's a discussion, there's a thought process, which I don't necessarily agree with, that they could have signed additional players in free agency like a Joey Bosa, among others, but they didn't feel like that they were getting the best deal, the best bang for their buck. And people think that they let players slip through their fingers. It's possible. You just can't give any player whatever they want. And if it was rumored that they were going to give Joey Bosa up to $10 million for the 1 year, and the Bills went up to $12.5 million plus more with incentives, then you just say, okay, go to Buffalo. Is Joey Bosa going to be a player that you're going to get into a bidding war with? Because once the Niners get him and he's in the program, he's going to miss at least 5 games or more. Watch him be completely healthy with Buffalo, which would make it even harder for the Niners to get him next year, because I'm sure Joey's thinking, well, even if I don't play with Nick this year, there's always 2026, 2027, even if they played together for 1 year. So in terms of, the guaranteed money, maybe Brock ends up somewhere between 160 and 200. The average per year, I know I've been banging the drum that Brock's going to be somewhere in the 50s. And I know that's like a wide range, but I could see somewhere between, say, 52 and maybe 56 million a year. The optics of the Josh Allen contract are important because San Francisco could say, listen, Josh Allen was an MVP. He's considered a top 3 quarterback in the league, and he is only averaging $55 million a year. Now, if I'm Brock's agent, I can say that's totally fine. My client has been an MVP finalist. He has been to more championship or just as many championship games in his 2.5 seasons as Josh Allen has been in his career. And my client has been to a Super Bowl, and he should have won it and been MVP if the defense could have gotten a stop in the fourth quarter or overtime. It's how negotiations work. Whether you like it or not, that's how they work. The Niners are going to paint, and they still think highly of Brock. They're not throwing shade or anything like that, but they are going to frame it up as a why Brock doesn't deserve X. And Brock's representation is going to frame it up as why he deserves X. But if people are thinking, is Josh Allen's contract going to drive down what Brock could get? And the answer is maybe. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I wouldn't be doing this. I would have hit Powerball probably a half a dozen times by now. But it might. I don't know if the QB market has cooled as much as there really isn't anybody up for a major extension upcoming, right? I guess next year it could be CJ Stroud because he'll finish his 3rd year. But if I was the Texans, I don't care what he does next year. Show me more. If people are going to be show me more to Brock, then it's got to be show me more CJ Stroud. On the flip side, Jordan Love showed people one half of a year of good football, and he winds up getting, around $55 million a year. So, and that's the Packers, an organization that, not that they're cheap, they will take care of homegrown players before they go for free agents. At least that's how they've been the past 20 plus years. That doesn't mean that they don't sign outside free agents, but they're much more apt to draft and replenish that way versus looking to free agency. So obviously nothing to come on the Brock front. I really thought it would have behooved the Niners to get the deal done before free agency started, beginning of March. Then you would know with the cap and cash what they have to work with. They should. I mean, now it's like, what's going on, guys? What's the problem here? Josh Allen gets an extension. There was no fanfare or speculation about it before. It just happened. Same with Tua, same with Hurts, same with Lawrence, same with Love, same with Goff. I know Brock is polarizing because last pick of the draft, doesn't look the part, not sexy. He's a Shanahan quarterback. They have weapons. And then on the same token, you have the Bengals, who I guess Joe Burrow needs his semi-Avengers, right? In Jamar Chase, a top 2 receiver, and T. Higgins, a top 15 receiver. for him to perform, but he's Joe Burrow. He should be able to perform with anybody. The conversation is so circular. And even though folks aren't necessarily talking out of both sides of their mouth, if you press them on it, they will start to. Because it's a conversation that only makes sense when you say good quarterbacks 9.9 out of 10 times have good weapons around them, or else they wouldn't be good quarterbacks. Now, switching gears to trade speculation for one of Brock's weapons, Brandon Aiyuk. Of course, there's going to be trade speculation because what is an offseason without ridiculous 49er drama? The minute Debo went out the door, Aiyuk wasn't going anywhere. ACL reconstruction be damned. He's not going anywhere, but there is a time marker that between now and then, which is 11 days from now, Brandon Aiyuk has a $23 million option bonus or bonus due on April 1st. That San Francisco can trade him before that and save $23 million. And if this is a cash saving off season, there's a lot of people speculating, well, he's going to go. The Niners are rebuilding. I mean, Ryan Clark as a moron saying that they should trade Christian McCaffrey. If the Niners are rebuilding, they should trade CMC. Well, guess what? They're not rebuilding at all. And if I've explained that last podcast, and if you guys are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are a repeat listener or viewer of the podcast, glad to have you aboard. If you did not hear my opinion on that last podcast, please feel free to listen. But it's not a rebuild. It's a retool. It's a renovation, because everybody wants to use these RE words. It's a renovation of the roster, structurally and financially, about what they want to do moving forward. And if the Niners bounce back well this year and make a deep playoff run, championship, Super Bowl, though I'm not betting on that, then management for 2026 may say, wow, like, look at that. Maybe we are a player 2 or 3 away, a mid to high end free agent away to take that next step. And Lynch said 2024, this past season, was we're going to go for it. We're going to bring in Floyd and Gross Matos and try to help the ends, and bring in Collins and Kalia Davis and Jordan Elliott and try to help the D-line. And obviously that didn't work, at least from a run defense standpoint. But John Lynch said, okay, we've been going for it for a while. We were on the doorstep of winning a Super Bowl in 2023. Let's go for it in 2024. Did not work. Disastrous injuries. Nick Sorensen, special teams, everything. Let's take a step back now and reevaluate. There's another RE word. But it's not a rebuild. And they've saved, let's get back to Aiyuk. They've saved so much money for the Yorks already. And again, there's only so much I can cry for them. And that answer is actually not at all. They've saved already $15 million in cash by trading Debo. At least $12 million by cutting Hargrave's salary down before the season ended, his base salary. About $6 million, at least $6 million cutting Leonard Floyd, and about $4 million at least cutting Malik Collins. So if you're adding that, you're talking those 4 players together have saved the Yorks 30 at least, because I think I'm lowballing some of these numbers, at least $37 million, say around $40 million in cash savings. And that's essentially what? A sixth of the salary cap? A seventh of the salary cap. And I know the Niners cap number is higher because you're doing rollover stuff, and that makes your allotment to spend go over the actual salary cap limit. $40 million in savings, pretty good. Now, when you become billionaires or millionaires because you're trying to save money and maximize your ROI at every turn, Brandon Aiyuk getting traded. One, saving another $23 million in cash, another 50% in terms of cash savings, might look good for the Yorks bottom line, but it's not going to look good for the 49ers bottom line when it comes to standings and Brock Purdy and the passing offense and what Kyle Shanahan wants to do and what us as fans and the Niners as coaches know that they need to do, and it's find ways to beat man more. They have issues with man defense, and one of the non-man beaters, Deebo Samuel, is gone. Great and explosive football player, not a great or even very good wide receiver. We've all seen the games and seen the tape and seen him struggle against man. Demarcus Robinson, although, kind of a journeyman-ish wide receiver, we've seen Rams games the past couple of years, gets open. Better route runner than Deebo, bigger receiver, can't do the Deebo gadget stuff, but if that gadget stuff goes away, I'm okay with it. I think the gadget stuff had a time and place, and I don't think the time or place is now or in the future for San Francisco. How does trading Aiyuk make the Niners better in 2025? It doesn't. How does Aiyuk make Brock a better quarterback in 2025 and beyond? It doesn't. One thing, just so you know, I wound up seeing, and it's out there on social if you want to just search for it. Stephon Diggs posted a workout video with, I forget the quarterback. And he was running kind of like a bunch of square ins around cones and exploding for some catches. Looked pretty good. And I had to look up, because he tore his knee up last season with the Texans and is still a free agent. When did Stephon Diggs tear his knee up? It wound up being 3 or 4 weeks after Aiyuk. Now, Aiyuk had an additional tear, whether it was the MCL or PCL, I forget, I apologize. But that at least gave me some, I don't want to say hope, but perspective on, all right, if Diggs is there, how far behind, if at all, is Aiyuk? Because he's, at least to the best of my knowledge, hasn't posted a running video like that. So maybe there is the chance that Aiyuk is ready to start the season, but let's be conservative and say that he misses September, but he's ready to go in October. So he misses, say, the first 4 games. Aiyuk is the kind of receiver, a top 8, top 10 receiver. Yes, coming off a knee injury, I get it. The type of receiver that should grow with Brock. And I've said it before, and you guys can look up the stats if you're going to doubt what I'm about to say. He has grown as a receiver yardage-wise each of his first 4 years, culminating in 2023, where he had over 1,300 yards and was a second-team All-Pro. And then obviously the injury last season against the Chiefs. There's speculation. Oh, he could go to New England. He was rumored to go to New England. Do you think he wants to go to New England? Players still have power in terms of, do you want to go somewhere? The Niners aren't just going to dump him there. He could decide to not report to camp or hold out. Or New England sucks. The Browns suck. The Steelers now have DK Metcalf. Like, are there players or places that they could potentially trade him to that could be appealing? Yes. But it doesn't help the Niners because it's not a rebuild. It's a reloading, recalibration, re-estimation of what they want to do financially and per position group for the 2025 and beyond season. Brandon Aiyuk, nothing is out of the realm of possibility when it comes to trades. I mean, did any of us see Luka Doncic getting traded? I mean, I know this was a while ago, but getting traded from the Mavericks, the face of that franchise, for Anthony Davis, who probably got hurt his first game. I mean, it's just so laughable. So anything is possible, right? Joe Montana getting traded to the Chiefs in 1993. I would highly, highly, highly doubt. It just seems too ridiculous to me that Aiyuk is anywhere but in San Francisco after April 1st, come week 1, and even through basically the majority of his contract with the team. So now let's turn our attention to the running backs. Shake up in the running back room. Jordan Mason traded to the Vikings for a 6th round pick in 2026 and a 5th round pick swap where the Niners move up 27 spots in their money round. The 5th round, figured this was going to happen. I just wasn't sure of the mechanics of it. Meaning when the Niners placed that 2nd round tender on Jordan Mason with a $5 million guaranteed salary, I was not sure if this meant they were going to keep him for $5 million as a backup to McCaffrey and potentially Isaac Guerrero. Doesn't make sense financially. And he wasn't worth the 2nd round pick. Guys, he just wasn't. I know we all love how angry he runs, like he's angry at the ground and his hair's on fire, but he's not worth a 2nd round pick. And if they could work out lower draft compensation, that they should trade him. And that's what they did with the Minnesota Vikings. He's going to be the backup to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is only signed for 1 year. I think Mason got signed for 2 years. So he has the potential to be a starting running back in 2026. And good for him. Self-made, undrafted rookie free agent, is making his mark in the league just like Matt Breida and Jeff Wilson Jr. before him. Grendo is running back too. We know this on the depth chart and in our hearts. Well, maybe not in everybody's hearts, but he's running back too. And guess what? He had more catches last year in a non-full season, because he didn't miss time, than Jordan Mason had in his entire career with the 49ers. While that may not sound impressive, I'm not going to say it's one of the reasons that made Jordan Mason expendable. That the tendering him with that second round offer made him expendable. If they were going to, if they tried to work out, a 2-year, $4 million deal with them, and Mason's like, no thanks. I could probably get more on the open market. They tagged him and they said, okay, now we're going to get something for you. And you'll have that opportunity to get more or a more substantial offer on the open market. So good for all parties involved. I know people were upset with the compensation that they got, but if you get anything, it's like a stock. If you buy a penny stock or a dollar stock and it turns, say the dollar stock turns $1.25, $1.50, it's a pretty good ROI for an undrafted rookie free agent. You essentially got 2 picks. You got the 6th rounder in 2026. And even though it's a pick swap, you move up 27 spots. There's basically 32 picks in a round. That's essentially another pick when you kind of do the math. Listen, Debo got traded for a 5th. This might be in the realm of that. And I know people aren't happy about that compensation, but Christian Kirk from the Jaguars to the Texans got traded for a 7th. And I'd rather take Christian Kirk at this point in their careers than Debo Samuel. So you never, and as fans, right, we overvalue the players on our team, and maybe other teams undervalue them because, again, it's a negotiation tactic. Jordan Mason, maybe they offered a 7th in 2026 and the Niners wanted a 5th or a 4th and they settled on a 6th in a pick swap. It's just the nature of the beast. That's fine. But in terms of the roster right now, let's get back to it. It's McCaffrey 1, Grendo 2, Patrick Taylor 3, presumably he came back, and Israel Bonaconda is the 4th running back. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm one of them in terms of, well, let me get to what I was going to say first. A lot of people out there that are beating the drum of the Niners drafting a running back relatively early. And by relatively early, I mean like the 3rd round. And Cam Scatterbo, running back from Arizona State, has come up in a lot of people's mock drafts that I'm seeing online. And listen, if they get him in the 5th round or 7th, I'd be fine. He's not going to last even probably until the 5th round. But the Niners are essentially drafting, if they draft a running back, and I believe they will, and basically every mock draft I've done, I've drafted a running back also, but with one of their 3 7th round picks. They don't have a pick in the 6th. They have 2 in the 5th. And let's be honest, they have more depth needs on the roster than at running back. And here's how we're going to talk out of both sides of our mouth. Kyle doesn't platoon running backs. If McCaffrey stays relatively healthy, that makes Isaac Grendo relatively useless, which would also make a rookie running back relatively useless as well. If they do platoon backs, do you think Kyle's going to have a rookie get more of a share than Isaac Grendo, who proved his mettle on the team last year? Injuries aside, anybody can get injured. McCaffrey obviously got banged up, and so did Grendo, who missed a couple games, and so did Jordan Mason. So I think there's logic to have 3 good running backs, or running backs you trust on your roster. I don't think they're going to carry 4, just like I don't think they're probably going to carry 4 tight ends. I'm a ways away from doing forget about a projected 53-man roster. I mean, we don't have the draft yet and undrafted rookie free agents and all that good stuff. But even just from a positional breakdown, I can see them starting the year in 2025 with 3 running backs and 3 tight ends, and having 1 or 2 of each on the practice squad to call up if needed. But let's get back to the running back room. Patrick Taylor, 1-year deal. I don't think a lot of it was really guaranteed. Acquitted himself well last week of the season against Arizona, going over 100 yards. What does running back 3 need to do? Play special teams. So there's another, I think, check mark or minus in the column of drafting a running back early? Are you going to draft a running back who's going to be slotted in as running back 3 early to play special teams? Regardless of the talent of the running back, it doesn't seem like it's a good use of an early pick, an early resource, when you obviously have needs, multiple pick needs on the D line, drafting 1 or 2 O linemen, drafting a corner, drafting a linebacker, maybe a safety, probably a tight end to be a tight end 3 at some point, 4th or 5th round, 3rd, 4th or 5th round. I'm all for them drafting a running back, but we've seen it. How many times do we need to see the same story of late running back from Kyle and Bobby Turner performs better than early drafted running back? So can we just skip to the end and just not draft a running back early, or at least say the 5th round is still the earliest for me? Does it need to be the 3rd or 4th? And I know people are, I get it. And there's still some people that are living in fantasy land thinking that, well, if Ashton Genty from Boise State falls to 11, then Kyle's really got. Are you fucking serious, guys? Come on. Come on. And one other thing, and this goes to optics. Israel Abanikanda signed from the Jets practice squad end of last year, has a year remaining on his deal, is signed through 2025. A 2023 draft pick from Pitt, 5'10", 212, good size running back, good speed, okay hands, but it could be in a mix. I don't know if on this team, but like as an RB, running back 2, running back 3. Could beat out Patrick Taylor for running back 3. Nobody cares about Israel Abanikanda. Nobody. And I can't say I care too much about Israel Abanikanda, but I'm excited to see him, just like I'm excited to see any of the rookies or new players when, they break for mini camp and rookie camp and training camp and all that good stuff. It's a new year for the Niners, just like it is for a lot of teams, but with all the players on the way out, I'm excited to see a lot of the players that are on the way in, especially a lot of the younger players in the whole draft class that we don't know what it is yet. But getting back to Israel Abanikanda, if Abanikanda never played in the league and was coming out in the draft this year and was drafted in the 5th or 7th round, or was an undrafted rookie free agent that was signed, there would be an outpouring of love and support and cheering for Israel Abanikanda. Oh, but it could be another training camp hero. He would be another, is a potential late round gem by Kyle and Bobby Turner and John and his staff. The fact that Israel Abanikanda is not a draft pick is almost in a weird way a crime, because if he was, social media, people that think they know about running backs or about football or pecking order on the Niners team would be gushing about him, because he would be the new shiny toy and young toy in the running back room. And he still is. I'm excited to see what he can do. Am I guaranteeing he makes the 53-man roster? No. But perspective and optics here, to me, are very, very funny. No one cares about him. No one's thinking about him at all. But if he was a draft pick, 5th, 6th, 7th round, or undrafted rookie free agent, I guarantee you the conversation about Israel Abanikanda would be pretty loud from a lot of people who generally don't know what they're talking about. And Kyle Juszczyk, right? We all know now, cut, re-signed, cut for financial purposes. They asked Juice to take a pay cut last year, which he did. Whatever the conversations were, whether they asked him to take a pay cut again or decided to cut him because they didn't want to disrespect him by asking him to take a pay cut again, whatever wound up happening, Juszczyk visited Pittsburgh, decided to come back to San Francisco, 2 years, $8 million, $7 million guaranteed. He's been with Kyle since 2017, part of that first free agency class that Kyle and John brought in when they dubbed him an offensive weapon. I thought he got more than he would have coming back. And there was discussion that he could have gotten more from the Steelers, was going to visit the Ravens, or he did visit the Ravens. I think maybe Seattle showed some interest too. There is respect around the league and value in what Kyle Juszczyk does. Yes, he's not a hammer. He's not a Mike Allstott or a Patrick Ricard that you can plow in there to get the 1 or 2 yards. He's not a Tom Rathman type of back, even though they wear the same number, but he is versatile, right? He has been their de facto tight end too. I've said this on other podcasts, having more receptions than any tight end on the team the past 3 seasons, not named George Kittle. Now they do have Luke Farrell in the mix, and everyone thinking that Luke Farrell was Juice's replacement was ridiculous. No. He is a tight end. Braden Willis, who is also a tight end, would have been, in my estimation, given the first crack to replace Kyle Juszczyk at fullback. They might have drafted a fullback, undrafted rookie free agent, whatever. But Juice is back. I hope something comes out one day, because I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of fans are too. How much money did the Niners actually save by releasing Juice and having this contract versus just reworking his old contract into this one? 2 years, $8 million with $7 million guaranteed. Listen, Juice is a fan favorite, right? I mean, other than Grant Cohn, who's just an absolute waste of flesh, I don't really know many people out there that are not Kyle Juszczyk fans. Does the dirty work, not the sexiest position league, but he's not just a one-dimensional fullback. Gives Brock another outlet in the passing game. What other team do you see fullbacks running wheel routes down the sideline and getting open and making catches? Another weapon, 32 years old or 34, whatever he is. But he should, and with the guaranteed money, knock on wood, hopefully no injuries, that he finishes his career with San Francisco and makes the 10-year wall along with George Kittle, who should get extended as well. Now, last but not least, for whatever this is worth, and for some of us, it might not be worth all that much, but I keep going, and I'm not an optimist. I am not a half full person. But the demise of the 49ers is greatly exaggerated. You might have seen on social media, the 49ers have more all-pros on their team, 7 in the entire NFC West combined, which I think is the number is either 3 or 4. What does that mean? Nothing other than the fact that the Niners still have really good players on their team. And as much stock as any of us want to put into sports books, as of today, with the Rams bringing in Devontae Adams, and I know they obviously got rid of Cooper Kupp, and the Seahawks getting rid of Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and Geno Smith, and bringing in Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, the 49ers have the best odds. They are favored to win the NFC West at Bet365, BetMGM, DraftKings, and ESPN Bet. And because I just didn't look into all these sports books, they have the third best odds to win the NFC at DraftKings. Or I'm sorry, they have the third best odds to win the NFC at ESPN, and the fourth best odds to win the NFC at DraftKings, the sixth best odds to win the Super Bowl at ESPN Bet, and the seventh best odds to win the Super Bowl at DraftKings. This is still, and we'll leave the number 7, seventh best odds at DraftKings. This is still a top 7 roster. It is. Now, am I going to put money on and say that they are going to make the Super Bowl be in the NFC Championship game when the Eagles look as good as they do, the Lions look as good as they do, the Commanders are on the come, but it's been 1 year. The Commanders might be a team year 2 that just get figured out. The Packers, one and done in the playoffs again this past year. The Vikings are now turning things over to J.J. McCarthy. How's that going to go? Does anyone in the NFC South scare you? No. The Rams, 10-7, The Seahawks, 10-7 with different players at quarterback in their skill positions. I mean, there's the reason why the Niners are having dirt thrown on them is because of the number of players they've gotten rid of. But when you do the digging and you do the research and you watch the games, or you watch the games as much as we do as fans, you understand how much impact or lack thereof some players had. You can understand why the Niners, still with a core on offense of Purdy, of McCaffrey, of Kittle, Aiyuk, Jennings, Pearsall, Gorendo, Trent Williams, Dominic Pooney, and on defense, Bosa, Fred Warner, Demo, Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa. And obviously, they need a little bit more help, or some help at linebacker, and a good amount of help at D tackle on that D line. But the draft is coming, guys. They are going to make selections. Now, they have to make the right selections. It's not just like, Niners selected a first-round D tackle. They're good there. Pencil him in as a starter. You don't know. The draft is the ultimate crapshoot. And just because the Eagles hit on multiple defensive players from Georgia and 2 corners on this most recent draft, and the Rams drafting Jared Verse and Braden Fisk from Florida State on their D-line, there's no guarantee that the Niners have those hits. Remember, last year was the high watermark in terms of drafting for John Lynch and company. If you want to call it draft momentum from 2024 to this year, all right, I'm not going to buy into it, but maybe that's the thing. Maybe they figured some things out in terms of players that fit what they want to do on O, on D, in certain position groups. Who knows? But beyond what the Niners are going to do in the draft and in additional free agency coming up, they still have a lot of good players on this team. They just do, right? Like, we all know this, but it's so much easier and sexier and juicier to grab on and sink your teeth into the negative of who they lost versus discuss who they still have. And the who they still have, in my mind, still greatly outweighs the players that they lost, especially when you're talking about the price, the cost of those players. A Jalen Moore getting $15 million a year from the Chiefs at tackle. Aaron Banks getting close to $20 million a year for Aaron Banks to play guard for the Packers. What Greenlaw got, what Huff got, Javon Hargrave. I think the Niners have made some very shrewd decisions, and we'll see if they all pay off. But they are cap healthy, $45+ million as of March 20th under the cap. And they are top 16, top half of the league next year in terms of cap space looking ahead. And there was some moron online that was arguing with me. He's like, oh, well, sports books do something for a certain way to take your money, and they take into account what people are saying on Twitter. No, they don't. Trying to convince that they have the 3rd worst odds in the league to win the Super Bowl. And I just kept saying, okay. I mean, different sports books set different odds. Show me where you saw that. Close to 10 times going back and forth with this absolute mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging troll who just couldn't provide a link, and was adamant that, well, you're reading the odds wrong, and other people were jumping on him too. I live to just completely annihilate assholes and midbrains online. I don't do it a lot, but when there's one that might be ripe for the picking, I'll pounce. Vegas generally knows what they're doing, right? Generally. There's upsets all the time in every sport. But when you have 4, we don't call it respected sports books that have the Niners as the clear favorites to win the West, and a favorite, not the favorite, but a top 4 or 5 team to win the NFC, I think that more than anything else, if you want to go online and listen to the haters and get dragged down into what misery merchants are trying to peddle, you can do that. Or if you want to feel bad or sour about the Niners getting rid of, if Greenlaw was one of your favorite players, or Hufunga, or whatever it may be, that's fine. But turn your eyes to who's left, who may be incoming in April, and what Vegas, like I said, they're pretty damn good, has to say about it. The Niners are trending up. They are not trending down. That concludes the podcast for this week. Like always, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to make us part of your listening routine. March Madness, the tournament, I guess it technically kicked off on Tuesday with those first 4 games, but in full swing today and through the weekend. Hope you're going to watch and enjoy, and I hope you have good bracket luck. Whatever you do between now and when we speak again, probably midweek next week, unless something comes together relatively quickly in terms of Brock's contract, we will probably speak again mid next week. But between now and then, everyone, as always, stay happy, healthy, and safe. We will talk soon. Take care.